Good morning, honorable members. It's 8:30. I hope you are well and safe this morning. Shall we begin?
Yes, please. Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Okay. Thank you very much. Trying to see if thing is ringing in.
In the meantime, we'll ask Ms. Randall to mute her mic.
Hello. Yes.
Mic.
Yeah, you were saying you're going to ask who Untitled Chapter?
No, it's the staff members that I asked to mute mic.
Oh, okay. All right. Good morning and welcome, members. After a longish recess, almost, but also tragic because of the unfortunate developments that happened in the country. And before we start, I would like us to observe a moment of silence for people who died of COVID in this period we've come from. Unfortunately, including those who died in other ways, like honorable member of the IFP recently, Mtoko Sisi, as well as those over 300 people who died in very terrible circumstances during protests in the country. Let's observe a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Let's get to hear any apologies we have to get. Untitled Chapter.
Deputy Speaker, I have an apology from Madam Speaker.
Okay.
I also have an apology from Dr. Majake. She will join the meeting, but she has to attend. She has to attend, I think, a funeral at 9 o'clock, so she might not be here for her item. In that event, I will present the program if she's not.
No, that's okay. It's okay in that. Yeah. Thank you very much. Any other apology we should note? None.
Deputy Speaker, it's Sheikh Imam.
Yes, Sheikh.
Yeah, I'm on my way to this anticipated protest march in Phoenix, so I'll be with you, but on the road I'll perhaps be on and off. But thank you for that.
Okay. Honorable members, let's look at the agenda. The agenda is as usual. I assume there is no proposal for changes. None. Let's get someone to move for its adoption. Members, you quiet this morning, and can you wake up, please? Okay. I'll take Honorable Kwankwa and Honorable as a seconder to Honorable Majordina's proposal for adoption of the agenda. Let's proceed, honorable members. Let's look at the next item there. That's matters arising, or rather minutes. It's minutes first. Just let's go through them and hear whether you have any corrections on them. Go through that. Next page. Next page. Yes, honorable member.
Starting now on we may come back.
I can't hear you. I can't even hear who's speaking.
Issue on number 5. Matters.
Yes.
Should I come back because I feel not represented?
Hey, your reception, yeah. There's something wrong there. We can't hear you properly. Okay. I will come back to you. Let's go through any other corrections. Any corrections? If there are no corrections, and if the matter that the honorable member was raising is not a correction, we will assume it's a matter arising. Is that correct, honorable members? If you hear her? Okay. All right. Let's talk to it at matters arising. Honorable members, so the minutes are correct. In that there isn't any. Yes, honorable member.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable
it's not
member.
correct. I just raised that under my name, I must represent it on what I've said in that meeting. So it can't be correct.
Oh, no, I didn't hear
I
you.
think it's either the staff go and check. Let me type it in the inbox. Let me type it on the chat.
Okay. Because
it's funny when I'm talking, you can't hear me, but when I raise my name, you can hear me.
No. It's reception. Don't get into those kind of things, man. So early in the morning. Please, Jenny, what's the problem, honorable member? Natasha, please. Okay, all right.
Believe you me.
Okay. That's good to know. Honorable members, we will take the Honorable Natasha's correction. And with that amendment, can we have a proposal that the minutes are correct?
I propose we
that they be accepted.
I propose we adopt the minutes as proposed, Chairperson, en ek het nog die lekkerste geslaap.
Okay, thank you. Any seconder?
Deputy Speaker, it's Tasha. I also had a great night's sleep, and I second the fact that the minutes be adopted.
Okay, with the amendments. Thank you very much, honorable members. The minutes are now accepted as a true record with those amendments that will be considered. Next item is matters arising. Let's hear any matters arising, honorable members.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to you and to all the colleagues and our admin team.
Yes.
I just wanted to know whether the matter of the comments made in the Section 25 committee, is that going to just fall away now completely? Because we spent a lot of time in the last meeting talking about it, and if it's going to fall away, let's decide that that's going to happen. Otherwise, it'll remain on the minutes for some time.
Okay, as the matters arising, Honorable Kaso, are you able to help us with that one, or shall we take other? Let's take other matters arising so that we can take them together. Any other comments on the matters arising? Can we identify any?
Deputy Speaker?
Yes, honorable member?
Is the Mama Mkhalipi here?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe not necessarily the matters arising, but it's here on the minutes, the issue of Section 194 inquiry. Since the court judgment, what is the way forward in terms of the Parliament?
Okay, that's the second item that we'll deal with. Okay, any other? Now, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party has abandoned her role, and Honorable Kaso also used to step in for her. So can you take your jobs back, please? We are now back from recess. No lapsing of your duties. Honorable Kaso, you lead that process, and then so that you are backed up by the Chief Whip. Otherwise, we open it to other members to take over on a regular basis. First, identify matters arising. Let's do that.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Go through them.
The first item relates to.
Before you do that, let's hear Honorable Majodina. Her hand is up there.
I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Okay. Ndade Kaso, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I think the first item relates to remarks that were attributed to Honorable Shivam.
Yes.
And the understanding was that there will be substantiation of the remarks.
Yes.
Writing to the speaker.
Yeah.
That has not happened, at least in terms of what I've been able to check.
Yes.
So it's really up to the speaker, acting speaker, or this committee how to process the matter going forward. That's the first one.
Okay, I'll come back to that. Yeah, go ahead.
The second one relates to Section 194 committee.
Yes.
The committee was constituted. We received all the names. The committee had its first meeting. A chairperson was elected. It was meant to have its second meeting, I think, this week, Tuesday. But as members will be aware, there has since been a court order on the matter. And the implications of that court order will serve before the Rules Committee, scheduled for the 13th of August. And the Rules Committee will give direction in terms of what should happen to the process going forward.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Those two, 194, Honorable Shivambo. Is there any other that we are perhaps not looking at?
So I think the one matter that I might raise is that the Section 25 committee was meant to report by the 31st of August.
Yes.
But we understand that there may be challenges with that reporting date because of public participation processes. But legal services will be able to say more on that matter.
Okay.
And committee section as well. Thank you.
All right. Yes, honorable members, any other comment? Any matter arising? Honorable Mkalipi, I see your hand is up.
Yes, the follow-up.
And Honorable Shivambo's hand is also up.
Yeah, it's a follow-up on what I raised and explained by Mr. Kaso. Since this matter that was illegally processed by Parliament, so now it's going to the Rules Committee. What happened to that ad hoc committee?
Okay, my sense is that I thought that's what advice was sought, and we would get advice on that. Honorable Ndate Klaas, can you lead us on that one?
So I'm trying to understand the honorable member. Which ad hoc committee, ma'am?
That
was handling the Section 25.
Section 194.
No, I'm talking about the one that you just elected, the chairperson that you have wanted to continue with it. Since there's a court judgment now, what do we do with that ad hoc committee? Because I'm hearing Mr. Kaso saying this matter is going to a Rules Committee. What is the status of that committee now?
All right. No, thank you.
All right.
It's not an ad hoc committee, honorable members, but I mean that's a technical debate. The committee will be given directions by the Rules Committee. So the Rules Committee is meeting next week, Friday, to deliberate on the court order, the implications of the court order for the process going forward, and make a determination.
Okay. Yeah. In other words, the final weight will arise following that discussion at the Rules Committee. All right. All right. That is Shivam.
No, thanks, Deputy Speaker. I've submitted the document. I sent yesterday to Mr. Mahlangu about the conduct of the legal office. So I've sent it. You can process it here, or we can get the speaker to handle it, or can present it here. If
no. I thank you very much for letting us know that you submitted it. I think this is what we had expected to happen. Let's allow it to be handled by the speaker, and then we'll get a report from that. Thank you for letting us know. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Mulder, I see your hand is up.
Yes, Chairperson. I just want to react to the statement being made in terms of the setting up of Section 194 committee. We can't just go to say it was set up wrongly. It's not correct. It's not true. The House did set up that committee. The committee is functioning. I'm a member of that committee. Since then, there was a court order, but the court order has some implication, but it does not necessarily affect the committee, and that's why the Rules Committee will look at that. But we can't just let it create the impression that the committee was set up wrongly. It's not correct.
Yeah. No. This is why, Dr. Mulder, I suggested that the last word on the issue will arise from the Rules Committee, not from any of us here in the meeting. So that's we take your point here.
But to dispute that it was wrongly set up is problematic because
Honorable Shivambo, that's your opinion. The matter is not.
Tell him as well that it's his opinion.
Yeah,
I've said so.
Deputy Speaker is still on the platform. Why are you not allowing him to speak? Why allowing only Mulder to speak? When Honorable Shivam is speaking, you stop him.
Look at yourself. Look at Honorable Shivambo. You have all commented on this. When I closed the matter by saying that the final word is not going to come from all of you. I just said so earlier. And you will abide by that.
By Mulder here. We are not here on the ticket of Mulder here. That committee was set to punish a black woman. So that's why we are saying we need clarity on that matter.
No, I will tell you that you are wrong. You are wrong. And go and live with that. The final word will come from the Rules Committee, not from you, Honorable Hlengiwe Mkhaliphi. Please, do not believe your own propaganda. This matter will be finalized by a committee, not by an individual in the meeting of the programming committee. It can't be done that way. It can't.
But Deputy Speaker, you can't say it's a propaganda of Honorable Hlengiwe.
Honorable member,
it was wrongly established.
When you say it was
now
wrongly
it's not a propaganda of Honorable Mkhaliphi. She's talking towards what the court have said.
That's your interpretation. Please let us leave it to the meeting of the Rules Committee to finalize. Thank you very much, honorable members, for your views on this. All matters arising have been dealt with. Am I correct? Yes.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
They have been dealt with. Thank you very much, honorable members. Let's move to the next item, which is a committee report. Committee section report.
Good morning, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Mkhaliphi, please lower your hand.
Good morning, Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members and colleagues.
Yeah.
Our report will start at slide number 3. On this slide, it is the ad hoc committee to amend section 25. The committee had re-advertised the bill. The closing date is the 13th of August, and the committee is planning to have the presentation of the public participation report during the 17th and the 18th of August, and also responses by the legal services on the 19th and the 20th, and the committee will have further deliberations on the 19th, the 20th, the 24th, and 27th of August, with the aim to finalize the report on the 30th of August. The next update is on slide number 4. On this slide, we are just indicating the matters that have been finalized during June, July, or during the period of recess. The next update is on slide number 7. On this slide, Deputy Speaker, it is the Employment Equity Amendment Bill before PC on employment and labor. The committee will have deliberations and finalization of the bill on the 18th of August. The next update is on slide number 8. It is Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Amendment Bill before PC on employment and labor. The committee will deliberate and adopt the bill on the 18th of August. The next update is on slide number 10. That is the Ease of Doing Business Bill before PC on Public Services and Administration. The committee is going to have the adoption on the 17th of August. The next update is on slide number 13. On this slide, it is Land Court Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The committee has advertised for public comments. The closing date is the 23rd of August. The plan is to have public hearings during the 4th quarter. The next update is on slide number 15. On this slide, it is Prevention of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The committee has been waiting for the decision by the Constitutional Court. A judgment has been delivered. The committee will now schedule the activities. The next update is on slide number 16. That is Cannabis for Private Purposes Bill before PC on Justice and Correctional Services. The committee will be receiving inputs from various departments on the 24th and 25th of August, public hearings on the 31st of August. The next update is on slide number 19. And that is the Pension Fund Amendment Bill before Standing Committee on Finance. Committee is going to deliberate on the bill on the 24th of August. This next update is on slide number 22. That is Gas Amendment Bill before PC on Mineral Resources and Energy. The committee has advertised for public comments. The deadline was the 30th of July, and the public hearings are planned for the 18th, the 20th, and the 24th of August. The next update is on slide number 23. That is Copyright Amendment Bill before PC on Trade and Industry. The bill that has been sent back. The committee is planning public hearings on the 11th and the 12th of August, deliberations on the days that are shown there with the aim to finalize the bill on the 27th of August. There is also the Performance Protection Amendment Bill before PC on Trade and Industry. The committee is planning public hearings on the 11th and the 12th of August, and then further deliberations with the aim to finalize the bill on the 27th of August. The next update is on slide number 25. That is Disaster Management Act before PC on COCTA. The committee has advertised for public submissions. The closing date is the 26th of August, and the stakeholder engagement will take place on the 31st and the 31st of August and the 1st of September, with further deliberations on the 3rd of September. The next update is on slide number 27. That is the Fiscal Responsibility Bill before Standing Committee on Finance. The committee is planning deliberations on the 25th of August. The next update is on slide number 29. On this slide is Housing Consumer Protection Bill before PC on Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation. The committee has sent adverts for public submissions. The closing date is the 13th of August. The next update is on slide number 30. That is Upstream Petroleum Resources Development Bill before PC on Mineral Resources and Energy. The bill has been referred recently, the committees to schedule the activities. The next update is on slide number 33. On this slide, it is just to indicate progress with regard to NHI processes. At this stage, we can indicate that the number of capturing and categorization of email submissions has now increased from the 10,000 in May to 31,500 in August. About 500 emails are still outstanding, but there are an extra 202,955 attachments to those emails that still need to be processed. And we also want to show that for the substantive submissions, in May, 163 has been done, and so far it is 214 with about 25 left, plus 2 large group submissions that still need to be done. The scanning of hand-delivered submissions has been completed. The next update is on slide number 35. On this slide, it is Economic Regulation of Transport Bill before PC on Transport. The committee is planning deliberations on the 17th, the 20th, the 24th, 25th, and the 35th of August. The 31st of August, my apologies, Deputy Speaker. The next update is on slide number 36. That is National Road Traffic Amendment Bill before PC on Transport. The committee is planning deliberations on the 18th of August, the 1st and 3rd of September. The next update is on slide number 38. That is Rail Safety Bill before PC on Transport. the committee's planning briefings on the 1st of September. The next update is on slide number 39. On this slide, it is expropriation bill before PC on public works and infrastructure. The committee will resume with the public hearings in Northern Cape from the 19th up to the 22nd of August, and in Free State from the 26th up to the 29th of August. Date to finalize the bill still to be decided. The next update is on slide number 40. That is Transport Appeal Tribunal Amendment Bill before PC on Transport. The committee's planning briefings on the 25th of August. The next update is on slide number 45. On this slide, it is Planned Health Bill before PC on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. The bill has been referred recently. The committee is still to schedule the activities. The next update is on slide number 51. On this slide, it is the work, the work before agriculture and also PC on employment and labor. That is the living conditions of farmers, of farm workers. The plan was to finalize the work on the 30th of November, but the two committees are planning to request for extension due to the delays that were caused by the lockdown restrictions. The next update is on slide number 52. That is the Committee on Section 194. It has already been mentioned earlier on that the chairperson has been elected, and the committee also had the second meeting about where the technical team briefed the committee. The next meeting is scheduled for the 11th of August with the understanding of the developments that are taking place. The next update is on slide number 55. That is a petition before COCTA. The committee is planning to consider the petition on the 5th of August. This concludes our report, Deputy Speaker, honorable members and colleagues.
Thank you, Ndadita. Members, can I suggest we go to bills and then take them together? Bills report.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Good morning, honorable members and colleagues. On our report today, we've got one bill on the NA order paper, which is the National Health, and 37 bills are before committees. Of the 37 bills that are before committees, 2 has been recently introduced, and they were both proposed Section 76 bills. That's all from our report, Deputy Speaker, and I will hand over to our colleague, Advocate van der Merwe, to report on Constitutional Court deadlines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Good morning, members. We have 2 matters to report on. The one is a new matter that affects the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act. The suspension order lapses on the 29th of July 2023, but there is a read-in provision provided by the court that will continue to apply unless it is actually amended by Parliament before then. There will just thus be no gap in the law should we not achieve this deadline. As it is a new case, it was only delivered very, very recently on the 30th of July. An opinion is being prepared for the relevant committee to consider and consult with the executive on the way forward here. Then a matter on which there is progress relates to the Electoral Act. This is the matter of New Nation Movement and the independent candidates issue. And on this matter, the Department of Home Affairs is scheduled to brief the Portfolio Committee on a report that it received from the advisory panel, and this is in relation to the policy that will inform the bill, and then also in respect of progress to introduce the legislation. This meeting will take place on the 24th of August of this year, and that is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for those reports, Tim. Any comments, members? on committee section reports, on bills, and on constitutional matters. Honorable Machodina.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and greetings to all colleagues on the platform. Honorable Speaker, let me welcome the two reports from the committee section as well as from the bills. Honorable Deputy Speaker, on section 25, I think they are on track given the timeframes that have been revised for them to finalize the public hearings. I think there will be no further request for any other extension. The end of August stand as the last date as per the House. I appreciate that. Chair, on the bills that that come as a result of a court judgment. I think we are also on track. We don't have backlogs, and the last report makes me to be comfortable that we don't have any matter that is really outstanding that might see Parliament as not adhering to court. I want to further propose, Chair, that all the finalized reports and legislation that are supposed to go to the House be scheduled for this third term. Then on the pension fund, I think, Chair, we'll need a report as well in this platform as well as in the Chief Whip's Forum, because there's a lot that is depending around pension, and it also affects us as members. So it's very much important that we know exactly what does it entail. On the electoral reforms, I'm comfortable, Chair, that the matter now will come to Parliament. Colleagues will remember that in the Chief Whip's Forum, we invited IEC to come and brief us. At least we are aware what is happening around the electoral reforms, Chair. And lastly, Chair, if there are any other urgent matters in terms of legislation, if they could be brought forward as well, so that we can know how to put them on the program. If there is any that must be fast tracked, the committee section as well as the bill section must also take us on board. But I want to appreciate the work that has been done by these two units. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Machodina. Thank you very much. Lower your hand now. Any other comment?
Yes, Deputy Speaker, it's me, Mkalipi.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Deputy Speaker, I just want to get a progress report on NHY progress as was presented here. Those figures are very much. And then there was one concern that was raised by the chairs of chairs here, that there are staff members who have been fired that we, according to our understanding, was also helping in NHY processes. So now we just want to get clarity in terms of the capacity of Parliament to process all those submissions that have been made during this process. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. The TAU will respond to that. Any other on committee report, on bills, and on constitutional matters? Whose hand is up?
Deputy Speaker, good morning.
Yes. Yes.
Good morning, colleagues.
Honorable from Tebeja, good morning. Go ahead, Dad.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. You pronounce it perfectly. I think everybody's getting used to this name change now. No, Deputy Speaker, just to respond to the Honourable Kalipi, she's correct. I did raise those concerns, and those concerns remain, although there is some progress in terms of the scanning and recording, accurate recording of the submissions that has been made. We had a meeting in preparation with this meeting yesterday with the acting manager in the committee section that gave me an updated report as to where we are. I did express my concern also that the dates that are being set as critical target dates are continuously being adjusted. And then secondly, the researchers are only engaging now in terms of the content of what has been submitted. So the report there do not indicate the processing of the submissions. It just indicates the capturing and the recording of those different submissions that is there. And we will continuously keep an eye on that process, because recording and scanning documents is nothing compared to what will be expected in terms of the quality of that report that must be produced. And the acting manager said that he will engage on the matter and see to it that additional capacity is there. It is indeed unfortunate that that project unit that was going to play a critical role in this process, unfortunately, is no longer available to do that because their contracts came to an end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Kaso, going to add to the responses?
No, thank you. And thank you for the report by the remarks by Honorable House Chair. Just to indicate that after the concerns were raised in this meeting and in other forums about capacity issues, we did manage to secure additional capacity. I think about 4 warm bodies were secured for that purpose. But we'll continue monitoring the progress, and I will, in view of what has just been said now by the House Chairperson, I will talk to the staff concerned and see what else we need to do to ensure that this process is not frustrated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a matter of practice, or rather as a matter of regular feedback, we accept that, as the House Chairperson says, that they'll keep us posted with progress on the matters. So we'll appreciate that. Okay. Any other comments on those 3? None. Thank you very much. Let's go to programming. Dade Kaso, you promised to take over from Honorable Majake.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot now.
Chief Whip, you see what's happening now? Nature doesn't allow a vacuum. Dade Kaso is taking over now. Go ahead, Dade Kaso. You have my authority to do that. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. The proposals are as follows, honorable members, that from the week of the 16th of August, as members will be aware, we're supposed to come back in that week, 17th of August. We are proposing that that time be set aside for committees. And the idea is that those committees that have been undertaking oversight exercise in areas such as KZN and Gauteng and various other committees will use that week to conclude their processes and to table their reports to enable the House to consider those reports. We are therefore proposing that the following week, if you can move, please. Can you please move the screen? Thank you. The following week, we then have plenaries on the 24th of August, and there's the proposal for a joint sitting on the 25th, and I know that the Chief Whip will say more on that. And I think the critical issue that will have to be dealt with in respect of that week is at what point are the reports of the committees that undertook oversight should be considered. Is it before the joint sitting or is it after the joint sitting? As members will know, joint sittings do not take decisions. And of course, those would have been committees of the NA, and the NCOP would have taken also, done also some work on that issue. So the reports can only be considered and adopted in the relevant House, which is the NA in this instance. So the sequencing of the joint sitting and the consideration of the reports by the House will have to be decided by this committee. Then on the 26th, we would proposing that we would have member statements and legislation. We have been told that there will be legislation finalized in the week of the 18th, and that legislation will then be scheduled for the 26th. And there's a proposal to consider those committee reports that are on the screen on the 26th. The next day, the 27th, There's a proposal that the 27th be set aside for the Women's Parliament. The NCOP is considering the same proposal. So that's the proposal about the Women's Parliament. Then the following week, 31st of August, the proposal is to have member statements, committee reports, motions without notice, and then we start with questions on the 1st of September. The last cluster that was taken would have been cluster 3. We then go to cluster 4, economics cluster, on the 1st of September. 2nd of September, we do legislation, and on the 3rd of September, the proposal is to have questions to the president, and we have received indication from the presidency that the president is available to take questions on the 3rd of September. And then on the 7th of September, ordinary business of the House, member statements, legislation, committee reports. And then on the 8th, we take economics cluster, questions on economics cluster. And we're proposing that on the 9th of September, we do condolence motions in respect of the following former members: Honorable Tongwane, Honorable Mackenzie, Honorable Maluleke, Honorable Njaisa, and Honorable Ngamalo. The 10th of September, set aside for committees. And the week of the 13th of September, 14th of September, we're proposing questions to the Deputy President. There has been correspondence from that office that the Deputy President would be available for that date. And then the 15th, questions to cluster 1, peace and security. The 16th, ordinary business of the House, legislation, committee reports. And the 21st, again, the business of the House. 22nd, legislation, committee reports. Sorry, I must not say business of the House because everything is business of the House. Legislation, committee reports, motions without notice, notices of motion. 22nd, questions to cluster 2. And 23rd, debate on Heritage Day. And 27th, legislation, committee reports, motions. And the next day, 29th, questions to cluster 3, and then mini plenaries. I think I do need to state this, honorable members. In terms of the program as adopted before we adjourned in June, the House was supposed to adjourn on the 3rd of September. There is a proposal to extend this period. We had attempted to extend it by 2 weeks, but then we realized that we would not cover all the question sessions, all the clusters that are outstanding if we did that. And therefore, the proposal is to extend it until the end of September so that we're able to cover all the clusters from the cluster 4, 5, then 1 up to cluster 3. And the issue of the 30th of September and the agenda there, it may have to be reviewed because there might be issues that the House wants to decide on the last day of sittings. And therefore, the idea of mini plenaries on the last day of sittings may not be a good idea, but that matter will be revisited. Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker. You are muted, sir. Deputy Speaker, you are muted.
Thank you very much, Ndadi Kasu. Honorable members, there's the program, which some of its elements work in progress to be finalized later. Any comments immediately that we should take on board? Chief, you want to speak? I see your hand up there. You must unmute if you want to talk. Don't follow me so closely that you make my own mistakes. Okay.
In adding to what Mr. Kasu have said, in terms of the reports on oversight by both portfolio committee or committees in the NA and select committees, I want to suggest, Chair, that we allow relevant houses to adopt their reports based on those committees. Then this proposed joint sitting, it should be the joint sitting that deal with these matters of the recent unrest in KZN and Gauteng, to denounce and condemn all forms of violence as they have impacted both socially and economically negative on the population. Chair, on the Women's Parliament, I want to make an appeal once more to you, Deputy Speaker, to work very close with the Deputy Chair of the NCOP, that let's talk about the Women's Parliament, Parliament meaning both houses. And the approach, Chair, without getting into details of this Women's Parliament, should be that there must be a particular time that is allocated for report back on progress that has been made since 2019 before we start with the theme of this 2021 Women's Parliament. Chair, on the condolences motion, I want to propose to this NAPC that given the fact that these will be 5 condolences motion at 40 minutes each, can't we start in the morning? You know, looking at families sitting on the public gallery in a parliament that they are not very much used to up until very late. It is not a very good experience. So I would suggest that if we could put that day aside and start the sitting at 10 o'clock, because you're talking about 5 motions. I want to support that we extend this term up to end of September, so that we can deal with more issues. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any comments and support for what the Chief Whip said, or variation? Any comment?
Chairperson. Yes, I've raised my. No,
okay, go ahead, Dr. Mint.
I've got 3 issues. The first one is I would suggest it makes sense to first deal with the oversight reports with regard to the unrest before we deal with the joint sitting. That's just a suggestion from my side. It'll make for a more informed debate after we've dealt with the reports. The other points I would like to make are points in principle. The first one I would like to ask is, we are going into this term now, and I see most of the sessions are hybrid sessions, which is fine. But do we have an indication, or are we going to take a decision in terms of how many members we expect to be present in the House? Or are we going to continue with almost no attendance in the House? I don't know who should take that decision, but I think we should discuss that perhaps. And then the last one, then, the proposed program presupposes that the local government elections are going to be postponed. We don't know that. We know that there's a court application, but it could be that the Constitutional Court says, no, we must go ahead. And I think under those circumstances, we will have to revisit the program and perhaps not be able to continue until the end of September. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, our perspective on the local government elections must be a bifocal one. We look down if things go according to original plans, and we look further in case the changes occur as a result of a decision of the court to allow us to proceed. That's an important observation. Any other comments on the program, members?
Deputy Speaker, my hand is up. It's Tasha.
Tasha, go ahead.
Thanks very much. Deputy Speaker, I would like to agree with Honourable Mulder. I think that the committee that sat last week Friday had a horrendous time of things, and it ended in chaos, and it was rather an embarrassment to Parliament and to those of us who sit in Parliament. I do think that we need to interrogate the violent outbreaks in KZN and Gauteng in deeper detail. And I think that before we go into a joint sitting, which would be a debate on it, I do think that the committees need to sit and they need to discuss and they need to interrogate on their own issues that need to be ventilated. And I don't think that we should in any way be sort of putting those issues aside and just concentrating on this joint sitting, which is very important. But I think that we need to make sure that our committees are running smoothly and running correctly, especially when we're dealing with the lives of South Africans and we're dealing with such obvious confusion between the committees themselves and what we're calling this. Was it an insurrection? Was it a violent outbreak? And I think that we need to get to the bottom of that before we get to a joint sitting of the House, which could turn into utter chaos just on its own merits there. Then, Chair, I'd very much like to see Parliament getting down to the nitty-gritty of doing its work and passing legislation. And I think that while we are in sitting and we are dealing with legislation, etc., I think we need to be sitting as much as we possibly can. And if that means that we have Friday sittings, so be it. Fridays are working days. I think that we have come to a point where the country is very confused as to why the country goes back to work, schools go back to school. We're rolling out the vaccine program now, and I do think that Parliament needs to be seen to be operating with a lot more vigor and a lot more gusto than we are at the moment. And I think that we should be we should be leading by example, and certainly be having as many possible meetings of Parliament as we can within the time space that we have. Dr. Mulder makes the good point that perhaps we won't have as long a term as we've programmed for. So let's make hay while the sun is shining and have as many possible sittings of Parliament as we can, because we're now at a point where it is desperately important for us to lead by example and lead the country through a very turbulent and very worrying time. Chair, I also think that the Powers and Privileges Committee and the Ethics Committee need to make more of an effort to meet on an urgent basis. There are matters outstanding that date back almost 2 years now. We have repeatedly raised this when we do programming and we put together our program, but it has now come to the point where it's almost becoming ludicrous that members are being able to just have certain issues shoved aside and being put on hold for a period of almost 2 years. So I would like to encourage that the programming whips get together and look at how they can program ethics committees and powers and privileges committees to sit and deal with matters that certainly deserve the importance that they need. And Chair, in terms of the condolence motions, I do worry that we have these condolence motions in one go. And what it does is it limits the opportunity for us to pay attention and to pay respect that each individual deserves, because we tend to have the speeches go on for hours, and it's very difficult for members of the public and even members of Parliament to pay the correct attention to these motions of condolences. And I think if one thinks that we're a group of 400 people, we have lost a considerable amount percentage-wise of our family, of our parliamentary family, to the dreaded disease. And as we know, our dear friend in this tragic car accident that happened. And I think that it's only right that we limit the amount of condolence motions we have in one sitting so that the members get the honour from Parliament that they deserve, and that we don't land up rushing through these motions of condolences, because we are in extraordinary times, and I think that none of us would have ever expected that we would have so many condolences, motions of condolence. And Deputy Speaker, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Natasha. And then Honorable Frolik, followed by Honorable Singh, and the last one will be Honorable Mkalipi. In that order.
No, thank you, Deputy.
Chair. Sorry, Deputy Speaker. Maybe Honorable Frolik must come at last, because some of the issues that you want to raise, maybe he might want and respond.
To respond to. That's a brilliant proposal, Mkalipi. Chairperson.
The Honorable Mkalipi is reading my mind this morning, because that's exactly what I wanted to propose. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Yeah.
Speaker, Swart hands also. Thank you.
Yeah, Steve, I saw you. Yes, okay, please do that. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Deputy Speaker, then I think it's my turn.
Go ahead, Ndati.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I want to agree with some of my other colleagues, particularly on the condolence motions. Yeah. And as Honorable Mazzoni said, it's unprecedented and tragic that in a very short space of a recess, we lost 5 members, and we really got to give due respect to all of them. So I will be in the hands of the programming committee as to how we deal with those condolence motions. Whether it's an early start on Thursday, which I also tend to agree with. With regard to the joint sitting, Deputy Speaker, what happened in our country is also something unprecedented, unforeseen, and unacceptable. Having said that, we know what the joint sitting and a sitting will be. It'll become a talk shop. What needs to be done is Parliament, through its committees, needs to fully interrogate all the members of the executive and whoever else to find out exactly what happened, why, who did what, who did not do what, etc., etc. And I think we must give them that opportunity, even if we set down a whole week for committees, Honorable Chair of Chairs. And even if the committees are clustered at some stage, the security cluster, let them come together so that we don't have them talking at cross purposes. So by the time these reports are tabled and come to Parliament, Parliament is aware of the detailed work that has been done by these committees, and then we can debate something that's a very, very informed and productive report. Otherwise, it'll just become a talk shop in a joint sitting. I'm not saying we shouldn't have one, but not at this period in time, but only after thorough work has been done by the committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kalipi.
Thanks very much, Deputy Speaker. I just want also to support the view that let us give the committees to table their oversight report. We have a huge interest, especially we want to know what will be form of justice about those Black people who have been massacred in Phoenix. So to rush to go to a joint sitting without getting any details and any form of justice to these people, I mean, I think that it will be not doing justice on ourselves as members of Parliament as well. The second one, Chairperson, is to get a clarity from Honorable Frolick, Chairs of Chairs, because I remember I saw him on TV when one of the committees, I think it's a committee on police, which we're doing oversight here regarding this matter that is scheduled for debate. When he pronounced, I'm not sure, he will correct me to say that Parliament will also embark on inquiry. So I wanted to get that clarity, Chairperson, because the families of these people that were killed in Phoenix, as a result today, as the EFF were going to a march to support those people who were brutally killed in Phoenix. And we know for a fact that some of the political parties, like the DA, tried to stop the EFF to march. And we really don't know why people have been killed. And then there's a political party that says go on live on TV and suggest that the other political parties must be stopped, not to go and sympathize and support those who were killed brutally in Phoenix, because we need to know. Police minister have given different numbers. He's saying it's 30, other people are saying it's 36, other people are saying it's 300. So therefore, the country needs to know how many people were massacred in Phoenix. So it means all political parties who are represented in Parliament must also join this fight to ensure that the Black people who were massacred in Phoenix get justice, Deputy Speaker. So we have a huge interest on this matter. So therefore, to go and rush to have a joint sitting without getting a proper details from the committee who have done the oversight, I don't think it will be proper. The second point that I want to get, because now the Chief Whip is also proposing that on the day of condolences, we need to start very early to accommodate even families. I just want to get a clarity. Why do we have to have all condolences motion in one day, Deputy Speaker? Because I think it's very sad. We have lost people that we have worked with very closely. And then I don't think it will have also done justice to have these condolences motions to start very late. So why do we have to have it on one day instead of separating? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. House Chairperson Cedric Frolick.
Sorry, Speaker. Steve Swart.
Oh, Steve Swart. Sorry, Steve. Sorry.
Your apology is noted, Deputy. Lawyer noted.
I do.
Thank you. I just wanted to support the issue about the condolences, that we definitely need more time there. And I also support the other speakers expressing concerns about what was decided by the various committees last Friday, whether pure oversight visits will suffice as opposed to my understanding was that there would be an inquiry, a parliamentary inquiry into what happened in KZN and Gauteng. So my understanding at the conclusion of that meeting was that the speaker would be approached as well as the chairperson of the NCOP. So I'm quite happy with oversight visits, but I do think that there still needs to be a full oversight inquiry, similar to what we had in Parliament before. This was very serious issues, and I'm not sure if pure oversight visits will suffice, where there is huge public interest, public outrage about all the loss of life, and loss of property arising from this unrest. And I do think that a full inquiry, as the various portfolio committees involved, and I heard what Mr. Singh said, and I tend to agree with him, that just filing oversight reports, I don't think suffices what is actually required going forward. We need to have full inquiries, whether it is the clusters together. I would strongly support that. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. House Chairperson, it's your turn. Honorable Mkalipe, please lower your head so that Honorable Cedric speaks. Thank you very much.
My hand, Deputy Speaker, not head. You.
Deputy Speaker.
Both.
May I respond? No, thank you, Deputy Speaker. No, on a very serious note, honourable members, there is at least 8 different committees who have undertaken oversight visits and work in the provinces of KwaZulu-Natal and also in Gauteng. The Honourable Swart indeed is correct that oversight visits and just paying a visit and think that you have done your oversight work now is not sufficient in dealing with the matter. I did make a comment on a proposed parliamentary inquiry involving the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, but I want to be very specific and precise here. In terms of this meeting that took place last week of a lot of different committees where members of, I think, the Joint Standing Committee on Defence, Intelligence, Justice, and all of that, there was never a request for such a meeting to take place in the first place, because all those committees have different mandates, Deputy Speaker. I've communicated since with the chairperson who convened that meeting, and we've not received a response yet, even though there was a media alert that went out to say that such a request will be made. There's nothing. And I'm not surprised that there's no request, because there was no permission or intention to ask for that committee to do what happened in the meeting last week. I'm also not surprised that the chairperson of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence and of the Justice and Correctional Services Committee did not attend, because there's mandates involved in the security cluster, Deputy Chief Whip, and the mandates are very, very specific. I must inform this programming committee also that the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence have already submitted an application, which I have seen together with the House Chairperson for Committees in the NCOP, Honourable Nyambi, on this matter, where they want to do an inquiry relating specifically to intelligence issues. And you can't put all these committees together, and you may as well call then certain people that will require to convey certain information and say information only in front of members of Parliament who have been vetted in the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. That request must be processed by the Office of the Speaker and the Office of the Chairperson of the NCOP. Where are we? When I was in Gauteng, and I want to take this committee further into my confidence to say that even though the Police Portfolio Committee went to KZN in Gauteng, there was no oversight work done in KZN. That committee abandoned their program and sat in a 5.5-hour meeting in KZN. So all these areas that members are referring to, Phoenix and this and that committee wasn't there. And I'm waiting for an explanation as to why all these members traveled from across the country to KZN, slept over in a hotel, and then they sit in a meeting for 5.5 hours without implementing the oversight visit program. So they haven't done work in KZN. In Gauteng, where I joined them, I could see that there were a lot of questions that had been answered, and even though there was a senior delegation from the South African Police Services present, there were more questions than answers. And that is why a parliamentary inquiry is needed, specifically in terms of the issues surrounding the police, the South African Police Services. There's very worrying issues that came to the fore in that discussion that took place there. And it would have been impossible for any committee, based on what they heard during that oversight visit, to immediately process it. That is why, in consultation with the Honorable Nyambi from the NCOP, we agreed to write a letter to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of Police and the chairperson of the Line Function Committee, Justice and Security in the NCOP, to conduct such an inquiry, because that inquiry falls within its mandate. And with this, I'm informed by Rule 167. But furthermore, apart from Rule 167, let's look at what Rule 227 say, because we don't need to create ad hoc committees all the time, while we do have committees in the National Assembly and the NCOP who can do the work that they are supposed to do. Rule 227 says clearly what the functions of portfolio committees are, and I'm not going to repeat that. But in sub-rule C, it says the committees may monitor, investigate, inquire into, and make recommendations concerning such executive organ of state, constitutional institution, or other body or institution, including the legislative program, budget, rationalization, restructuring, functioning, organization, structure, staff, and policies of such organ of state, institution, or other body. And then it says, the committee may consult and liaise with any other executive organ of state or constitutional institution. And of course, it must perform its functions in conjunction with the rules of the National Assembly, and where the NCOP is the rules of the NCOP. That is what the request was to the Portfolio Committee on Police. And my view is that committee, and I've seen comments from members informed by what happened last week in that committee, that said the date that was given of the 15th of August is not realistic. In fact, it was very realistic. If that committee, together with the committee in the NCOP, could have started their work. I'm of the firm view that you do not necessarily need to form new committees all the time. Let's allow these committees to do what they're supposed to do, report back to the House, and when it is in the House, the parties can come with whatever proposals they have, if they've seen there's any deficiencies in any processes, and make certain proposals in that regard. But the bottom line is, Deputy Speaker, there was never a request. We know the rules for an ad hoc committee to be formed last week. Committees on their own cannot form ad hoc committees. Myself nor the Honorable Nyambi can form ad hoc committees when Parliament is in recess. It's only the Speaker, in conjunction with the NCOP chairperson, who have the power to do so. And I want to conclude by saying, I firmly believe the outstanding work that needs to be done is within the mandate of the committee that is overseeing the South African Police Services, both in the NA and NCOP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ndate. Honorable members, Honorable Frolick has provided some response to the queries you make. Any question that you have or any comments? If there are no comments, I assume...
Deputy Speaker, it's Tasha.
Yes, Tasha.
Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. I think that sheds a lot of light on the situation. Yeah. And I think that it makes things very clear. I do think that a transcript of this particular meeting needs now to be sent to the ministers and the chairpersons of the affected committees, because what I'm finding more and more, and I'm sure my colleagues will agree with me, is that the chair of chairs makes a very a sound decision, and we all agree with the sound decision that is made in this particular committee. And as we know, the programming committee is a decision-making committee, unlike chief whips, which is consultative. And then the chair people or the ministers choose otherwise or choose to ignore the directives that are made by this committee. And there's a very good reason that this is a multi-party committee. It's so that democracy in action and that the People's Parliament in action actually works. So I think that it must be very clear that these chair people and these ministers do not have a choice as to whether or not they decide to call these meetings or call for these inquiries, that they have now been instructed by the Programming Committee of Parliament, chaired by yourself and the Speaker, who are the heads of our parliamentary operations, as well as a direct instruction from the Chair of Chairs, to whom all chair people answer, that they may not take on their own esteem, on their own decision whether or not these meetings will happen. They have an instruction, and they have been instructed to follow through on it, and we are now awaiting them and we are watching them with a hawk's eye to make sure that they do what they do, because it was very clear last week Friday that there was a clear attempt made to make a meeting absolutely ungovernable, and that can never happen again. So thank you very much for this clear direction, and I trust that it will be made very clear to the chairpersons and the ministers involved. Thanks, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. That is Rambo.
Yes, no, I don't think. No, thanks, Deputy Speaker. I don't think that a disjointed inquiry into what transpired will be helpful to Parliament. Because if you reduce the whole developments just to be a police issue and not looking into a variety of other aspects will be problematic. And also if it is separate committees that are going to deal with this question, it will mean that they will have all of them to separately convene the Minister of Police and Police Commissioner and whoever is involved if you want to reduce into that. And they might need to get some briefing from the Ministry of State Security and from Defense, from Finance, from a variety of other role players into the whole thing, because there has to be a consolidated approach so that we then deal with these things of mischaracterizing what has happened as insurrection. I'm sure that if there is a consolidated inquiry, either through an ad hoc committee in Parliament or a committee that is set to look into all these processes, it can be joint committees of all the areas that are involved, but to then take a disjointed approach is problematic. I don't understand the ventilation of the Chair of Chairs now about what has not been done and what has been done and everything else. It's the function of the ruling party. You would have dealt with that before you even come to ventilate in this meeting. You are the one who are in charge of the committees and of government in terms of how this process should be handled. Why do you come and complain to us here? You should have dealt with it in your own processes without having to complain to us in terms of what happens, because you are the ones who guide this process. But firmly, I think that it will be problematic to take a disjointed approach into these issues. It will be much more costly. It will be much more protracted in terms of how it seeks to come to the bottom of this, because I don't think that at the end of this inquiry as Parliament, we are going to mischaracterize what transpired as insurrection. Thank you.
Honorable Shivambo, meetings that are convened by chairpersons of committees as the business of Parliament, they can't be pigeonholed to what you call Honorable Frolik's party. They are parliamentary work, and that's where it should be done. Honorable Natasha, I suggest that the meetings of programming committee, as you correctly said, will be processed, and the speaker and the chairperson will communicate appropriately the outcomes and consideration of what comes from programming. The name is explicitly what the role is of this committee. And so the leadership of Parliament will take those decisions and ensure that what is recommended gets done and done properly and so on. So that's a follow-up that will be made so that we effectively follow through on firstly getting to grips with the reports of committees that were tasked to examine what happened and continue to do so, and their proposal for that to happen even before we consider, even before we go to a joint city, which is important symbolically. So I would suggest that we go that route, and we will report progress at the next meeting. Honorable members, unless there is an earth-shattering announcement, this meeting will be brought to a close. Any announcement? Honorable Singh?
Yeah. No, it's not an earth-shattering, but it is a heaven-shattering announcement.
Heaven? That's even more controversial. What are you saying?
Yeah. If you could allow me just firstly to thank all members for the messages of condolences on the untimely passing of our young man, Mthokozisi Ngumalo. I in particular want to thank the Chief Whip of the ANC for her support and advice throughout this. And just to inform members that I have put onto their WhatsApp site that there will be a memorial service that's been organized by our caucus tomorrow. It's a hybrid memorial. Some parties, all parties will be given an opportunity to say something because the family will be present. Some parties have responded, the ANC, the ACDP, UDM, and well, obviously the IFP, for slots to be able to say something. And I will appreciate it if they can come back to me if they would like to take up a slot for 3 or so minutes to pay tribute tomorrow at the memorial, which takes place from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock in Mtubatuba. The funeral service is on, the funeral itself is on Sunday, also in Mtubatuba. And I know the Chief Whip of the ANC and Honorable Kwankwa are going to be present at the funeral. However, we've got to watch COVID protocols. So just for tomorrow, if there are members that of parties that would like to pay tribute, please pass that message on to me. And thank you very, very much, colleagues.
Thank you very much, Honorable Singh. Yes, the young man deserves that. Honorable members, any other matter? None. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. See you next Thursday and or whenever in between. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chief Whip.
Long live the chair.
Ndaten tombele jipko pani ya parliament na ndaten.